What's the worst scandal to happen at your school? The math teacher left his wife of 18 years for one of the graduating seniors. My English teacher in the 11th grade was sleeping with the whole girls' basketball team in exchange for straight A's. I actually failed English that year, but when that made the news, my school said I didn't have to go anymore because he was not doing the grading properly. Everyone who had his class got a B. One year in exams days, they were trying to add a new method to prevent cheating, where a man from the administration comes to every class before every exam and collects students' phones while sticking a sticker with a number on each phone and giving the same sticker to the student so he can get his phone after school without anyone taking someone else's phone that looks alike or something. This was working at first and a bit preventing cheating until one day some guy sneaked into our high school and came as the man who collects the phones while he was not. He stole the whole high school phones and went. Lol. My middle school banned hugging and hand-holding during course changes because it blocked the hall. In protest, all the 8th graders stood up and hugged each other during their lunch period. A bunch of students got detention, made the cover of the Charlotte Observer. A student that was in the grade above me. I was a senior. He had graduated, killed his girlfriend, and buried her by the train tracks right behind the school. Freshman year, a junior accused the PE teacher of sexually assaulting her after hours in the locker room. He was put on leave and eventually got off on a technicality. Senior year, there was a freak snowstorm in April, during which the quietest and nicest stoner in our class went missing. A day later, they found his car in a ditch, and a week later, when the snow melted, they found his body. He would crashed and, in his presumed high AF state, gotten out to walk for help with no coat on. He eventually found a telephone pole and sat down against it to rest and was believed to have frozen to death in the storm. Seeing his mom at her only child's funeral still haunts me. The principal slept with a student, and his nudes and sexts were leaked. Some students broke into a local elderly reverend's home to rob him, thinking he was away. He sadly was not, and they proceeded to bludgeon him and his wife to death while they were sleeping with baseball bats and beer bottles. They were caught pretty quickly, and although their names legally could not be published because they were minors, everyone, including the local media, knew who committed the crime. Media caused a circus at our school for weeks, harassing any student for comment. Many did because they thought it was cool. Although these 3 kids, 13, 14, 15, were known to cause trouble, no one ever suspected they would be capable of a double homicide. Girl A decided to fight Girl B in class. Girl A ripped Girl B's real hair out, broke her nose, and crippled her. Girl B was sent to the emergency room. Girl A was suspended for 2 weeks. They were both in 7th grade. When I was in 5th grade, the male teacher I would had in 4th grade was fired for helping a high school cheerleader undress. Looking back, he was a creeper. Added to add, I was wrong. It was a 10-year-old. Just found it. A kid in my senior year short story class, who sat directly behind me, was charged with the stabbing, beheading, and burning of one of his friends, drug dealer. I remember the day like it was yesterday, sitting in my short story class when my teacher came in tears because she just heard the news. Students didn't find out about it until later. I actually have a friend who testified in his trial because he purchased the murdering materials at the hardware store she worked at. Crazy man. We had a computer teacher, football assistant coach who was just blasted all day, had so many dues he had to get rides to work, but was the cousin of the superintendent, so he capped his job. Let's just say that when he crashed a student's car in the parking lot because he convinced them to let him borrow it, that was the beginning of the end of it. It was a small town. The scandal is that the super tried to cover it up by trying to convince the kid to take the heat for it. To no one's surprise, the kid was not convinced. They let him stay on as super for another 2 years. This happened between my sister and brother graduating, so it would have been 1996 or 1997. The HSG teacher started dating a student at some point. Everyone knew about it and the parents consented. Our HS was and is small enough to still participate in senior trips, and the AG teacher went along as a chaperone when his girlfriend was a senior. They shared a hotel room when I believe the student was still technically a 17 years old minor. At the time, I remember my parents being rather put off by it, but they still hired the guy as a summer farmhand. I don't remember if he was fired or stepped down, but by the time I made it to HS we had a different G teacher. They got married and had a child. Divorced maybe 5 or 10 years ago. Their kid goes to our HS now. I don't know why it was not a huge deal at the time, but no one really raised a stink or threatened to call the authorities. Today it feels like a case of grooming by a predatory farm boy. Student brutally murdered his parents. He was a friend and co-captain of the soccer team. His mom was my English teacher. Had a strict dress code that if the girls broke had to change into clothes provided by the school. Turns out vice principal had a camera going in the dressing room. The 30-ish theater teacher ran off with a recent grad. I was kind of pals with the student during a play the spring before the scandal, and she hosted the cast party where in retrospect, they seemed a little cozier than appropriate. As much as I am dying for the inside scoop, I can't imagine friending her on social media and asking, "So what was up with you and Mr.?" The caretaker killed 2 local girls and hid them in the school. He tried using the clay kiln to burn them. He later dumped them a few miles away. Some highlights. The chorus teacher got caught looking at Lolita porn on his school computer. This kid had nudes of his ex that his friend sent to a bunch of people in school. But he was 18, and she was 14 or 15. So he got expelled and I believe he was charged with distributing child pornography. We had a whole assembly because of it where the cops came and told us they could see everything on our phones. A kid in my grade and another girl, same girl as in the story above, actually had sex in the bathroom. I learned about it from my band teacher. Kid made a chlorine bomb and threw it in the trash can at lunch. Lockdown, bomb squad. Every single kid and faculty member out on the field in 95 weather for 2+ hours until parents could show up to pick up their kids. The lunch lady was having sex with students and buying them alcohol. A teacher had an affair with the students. She was arrested and released on bail. Then a few days later she sent an email to other teachers saying it wasn't an affair, but that she was actually being raped by the student and blackmailed. She even attached screenshots of texts. Later that day, she murdered her husband and committed suicide. Kid in my class sent an email to the White House, threatening to kill Socks, the Clintons' cat. Secret Service showed up a few days later after they tracked down the computer. Did he get any punishment? Lifetime ban from ever working for the government. He was on the military track too, but they ripped up his contract. First week of high school, PE class. The first section was swim. Was not my class, but the class after. This kid was playing a game with his friends in the water who could hold their breath the longest. He was going up for air and hit head on the pointy part of the gutter and never made it to the surface. Friends didn't notice, teacher didn't notice, eventually football players coming back to the locker rooms noticed. He ended up dying, teacher was fired, although I would not fully blame him, as he was attending and teaching kids who didn't know how to swim or were not strong swimmers. One adult for over 60 kids, that's the school's fault. Probably the time a girl gave a guy a BJ in the bathroom. The guy filmed it and sent it to his friend. His friend sent all around the school. Eventually the police had to get involved, because the one guy was guilty of distribution of child pornography. One of the students wrote his own fanfic with himself and some of the younger girls. My department lit allowed the baseball team to line up, and she gave them all blowjobs. Happened years ago and confirmed by veteran co-workers I knew. Recently, some of the boys that graduated years ago decided to inform the proper authorities. She was transferred to another school, still works in the district. A girl in my middle school was telling people she had a hit list of people she was going to kill. Got caught with the list, and was sent to a hospital for a while. She came back a few years later in high school, added, "Seems like a lot of people had a similar occurrence in school." This was in Michigan. Back in high school, the entire football team was almost expelled because one girl gave blowjobs to every single one of the players in the locker rooms. Supposedly they were all in a circle and the girl was just going around to each person. The kicker, the girl's brother was on the team, and he let it happen. Edit, everyone's asking, but it's my understanding that the brother didn't partake in it, but he was effectively forcing her to not stop until she was done with everyone. The team ended up not getting in any major trouble, but the girl was suspended for a good minute. My high school guidance counselor fucked a science teacher's wife and everyone knew about it. They got a divorce. Both teachers still work at the same school to this day, and students will never ever let it go. The story has been handed down from year to year. A girl gave a guy a BJ behind a building. Her braces got stuck on his D. He pulls back, D bleeding, punches her in the mouth. She goes and tells the principal. Parents get called in. He yells, "She cut my D." While the door was open, everyone knew that. Thanks for watching. Share your story in the comment.